Hello and welcome back to another video in automation. I would like to try and make this into a bit of a series now, this time looking at the Holden Torana and modifying it to be what it might look like in 2020. If you haven't gone and seen my first video, go check that out and what I would have liked to seen if the Commodore was continued into 2020. Now I know that the Torana has already been made into a modern concept with the styling of a VE, but I'd like to try and turn that from what looks like a Commodore into more stylized into a different sort of car, more looking its own individual body shapes and individual styles away from that VE Commodore look. Also focusing on the Torana hatch that we see in the LX and LH models, and bringing that into the modern car. I am going for a bit of controversy here, and I'm going to be using the V6 out of the Commodore in this, going back to some of the earlier Toranas using the 6-cylinder motors, though beefing up some of the internals to make it into a twin turbocharged V6 motor. I know a lot of people will not like that opinion and want to have a V8 inside of a Torana, but this is my concept and this is what I'm going to be going with for this car. It's going to have a lot more of a lumpier cam. I'm thinking of this being from another HSV model, so it's going to be a lot beefier internals and styling on the car that you wouldn't be able to get as a stock Holden model. As you can see, we're putting some race intakes on it. It's going to be the twin turbo either side, twin exhaust. It's going to be set more for a performance sort of car. We're not putting any catalytic converters and only one baffled muffler on it. Might not be as legal in Australia, but that's what we're going to go with just for this concept. See, we've messing around with some presets in the turbo, going for a fair lot of horsepower in this car. It's going to be a small car, but it's going to try and compete with its sister car in the HSV Commodore. We're going to try and ramp it up to try and get about 600 horsepower, I think is going to be the aim for this car. And in such a small car, hopefully it'll handle well and get off the line really well with that too. A bigger intercooler. Turbo is what's going to do the majority of the work in this car. Naturally aspirated would have been sitting around 400 horsepower. It's going to be boosted with the turbo another 200, try and make it up to about 600 horsepower. Yeah, we're almost at 600 now. Just need that little bit more out of it. Just trying to smooth out the whole rev range to try and have a nice smooth power throughout throttle from 0 all the way up to its peak at just over 7,000 RPM. Just fiddling around with ignition timing, fuel mixtures, all of that, trying to get the best performance out of the car. Majority of the work in this is going to be in the styling after the engine has been done. As you can see there, we've got a lot of insane horsepower to this. We've actually exceeded what I was aiming for. I'm looking at about 700, just over 700 horsepower and 700 newton meters of torque. Good combination, fairly equal up in both. Let's have a listen to it. Now I know what we're all thinking. Doesn't sound anywhere near as good as a V8 putting into it, but I agree to some extent, but I wanted to focus on that early Torana with the inline 6 and just bring it into that modern era that they used to win Bathursts, like the LJs that they had the 6 cylinders in, which you can get a fair lot of horsepower out of, and that was the goal, a turboed 6 cylinder rather than just a naturally aspirated V8. Now with the body styling, we're going to put some fender flares on it just to replicate like the SLR sort of look, kind of give it those features, kind of a tribute sort of features, give it more of that a ducktail rear end, just to help bring that kind of wing but integrated into the body instead of a separate bolt-on piece. Same with the flares. As you can see, it's going to be that two-door look, like following the two-door hatch, like the A9Xs, and it's going to have that more rounded front end look to it, all integrated into the car. To move on to drivetrain, it's going to be rear-wheel drive, same as the Toranas. Give it that Holden rear-wheel drive muscle car, manual, 5-speed. Give it a fairly high top speed. This is all just going to be some quick presets put in. We'll come back and change all this later. Tyre width, it's going to be a sports car. It's going to be that tough sports car. We're going to give it some wide tyres, front and rear, slightly wider at the rear, fill out those guards. Give it 19-inch rims. We'll come back and change the actual rims themselves later. Another tribute sort of thing I've got in mind for the rims. If anyone knows the hot wire rims, I'm planning on putting that sort of thing on the car. Gold hot wires, but more of a modern look, just as a bit of a tribute to the old Toranas. We'll give it some decent brakes, 6-piston in the front. I'm going to go for more of a 4-piston in the rear. Make it stop well for the high horsepower engine we've got in front. Not going to do much in terms of downforce on the car. It's going to be fairly stuck to the road as it is. We are going to have rear seats. It's going to have power steering. It's only going to have ABS. It's going to be a pure driving style car, with not too many of those safety or features to help with the driving. You see already we've got the preset set for more of a GT or family sports car. I'm wanting to try and aim more for the family sports car and muscle car presets. Ride height's going to be lowered, give it more of that sporting look. Head back now and just fiddle with a few more of the presets, get it to where I want it, not as oversteery. Fiddling with the brake size, trying to get that right so it doesn't have too large brakes for the car. Fiddling with the offset, seeing how far we can push that. Alloy rims. Now I know that a lot of people will compare this to the Torana on that it was made back in 2007, I think it was. I might put a picture up on the screen once I show off the finished product of this car. Compare what Holden did compared to my vision of the concept Torana. Going into a time lapse now. Just enjoy. And here we go. This is what the finished Torana looks like as I fiddle around with a few more little bits and pieces on it just to tidy it up. As you can see, we've added a few pieces that you might recognise from the Torana itself. We've put the scoop on it from the LX and LH SLRs. The grill is more of that boxy looking grill like we've got on those LH and LX models. We've got the wing on the back, black hood. The badging, we're still calling it an SLR. We're going to call it the 3600, more in representation of the engine size than anything else, as was the 5 litre in the V8 style, but now in the V6 configuration. From the side, I reckon this car looks awesome as a coupe. We're giving it the VF style rear lights and updating the front headlights from anything else that's heading to BeamNG. Car's rendered pretty well, crossing over to Beam. Colour of the car obviously is a little bit less saturated, not as glossy as it was back in the old style. I reckon this car looks awesome. Put the flues on the side. A bit of that front lip, which resembles a little bit of what the VF currently has in the front, just a little bit more aggressive. Let's take this down the mountain, back on the Mount Glorious, which is up Canberra, Australia map. Everything that we do that's going to be an Australian model, I think, will give the same run down this map. And let's see how it drives. Sounds about the same in Beam as it did in automation. Good amount of wheel spin off the line. Still has plenty of grip to launch, as you'd want in any muscle car. Accelerates very quickly down the hill and has an insane amount of grip as we head down. Having such long gearing and still having that amount of torque to get up to speed, wasn't able to get out of third gear to try and give it a proper run going down this hill. Not enough long straights, open road to be able to do that for him to slow down for any of these tight corners or sweeping corners that couldn't take at higher speeds. See, constantly sitting at around 100 kilometers an hour in third gear as we go through the tight chicane style in this spur, heading down towards the hairpin now, and let's see how she goes under brakes as we head down that way. Late on the brakes. There we go, stops to get around the corner. Handles beautifully as we head down here, not too different, maybe a little bit better than the Commodore we had in the first video. And here we go. We'll pull up next to the what I've made of an original looking Torana hatch, the LH style, and I'll let you guys compare and see what you think of the differences, and see if this would be a suitable replacement if this was made in this year in 2020. I've always liked the older cars better than new cars, but for once I'm actually pretty happy with the look of this modern car, and would probably own one if it did exist as production model. You can see we've got that boxy style grille at the front, air intake black hood. From the side we've still got that hatch look, just more of the curved for the more modern looking cars. Tell me what you guys think in the comments, and even what car I should do next, whether you want a different model, different make altogether. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for any new videos coming your way. See ya.